On September 19th, a note was published stating that Sberbank wants to take over the largest Russian microelectronics manufacturer. And the price in question is 30 billion rubles. That was put in the headline, 30 billion rubles. But actually, I already see at the bottom that it's 15 to 28 billion rubles. So first they put 30 in the headline, so everyone sees it. A big number. Then it turns out to be 15. That's already 50% of the stated price. So AFK Sistema is currently negotiating to sell its significant stake in the largest and most prominent Russian microelectronics manufacturer, Element, to the well-known financial institution Sberbank. The potential deal amount for this substantial transaction could ultimately reach an impressive 28 billion rubles. Financial analysts call such a bank investment logical. Everyone supports it. Do you feel that? Everyone supports the bank, microelectronics. Everyone supports it because they immediately start justifying it. Why is that, right? Why is it profitable? Because it could become the first step toward consolidating the entire microelectronics industry. So this deal will help the microelectronics sector. But again, is that really the case? If the deal goes through, Sberbank will enter the company as an investor. This will allow for synergy, addressing state objectives while ensuring commercial success. So it seems like we're moving towards socialism, but now we're talking about commercial success again, which is more in the realm of capitalism. But it gets even better. With ongoing industry consolidation, the potential delisting of this crucial element is a distinct possibility. So, since the government explicitly intends to make the entire microelectronics sector non-public, effectively closed off from external scrutiny and investment, this situation becomes even more critical and noteworthy. They're hiding it. What exactly are they hiding? According to Kommersant, the deal will allow AFK Sistema to reduce its debt burden, which exceeds 1.4 billion rubles. No, not billion, trillion rubles. But those are some numbers, right? You could slap you across the face and you still wouldn't get it. What kind of numbers are these? They're huge and, well, unattainable. You know, we can read a lot. There's a lot written here. The history of the manufacturer. And then, do they still truly want to go through with this significant undertaking? And according to the RBC data, on September 18th, 2025, Element's shares experienced a jump by 5.03% and at their peak reached 1,357 rubles per share. In Copex, they reached that. Big, yes, a really big achievement. Basically, Gref is buying a stake from Sistema, right? Sistema is the AFK organization. They are negotiating to sell the microelectronics division, a part of Sistema, and supposedly Sberbank will be the investor. Well, what do you think, friends? Let's think about it. Why does Sberbank need this? Everything is collapsing, everything is leaving, and suddenly Sberbank is investing money? You might say, yes, but the microelectronics industry is being revived, right? But remember when Putin talked about it and gave the order? That was 6 years ago. And since then, he keeps saying the same thing, that the industry needs to be revived. Has it been revived? It hasn't. Can they do it? Well, if they haven't managed to do it in 6 years, then it means they can't. The point is, if, for example, it's a foreign investor, then according to our current laws, and our laws are almost like wartime laws now. So, under wartime laws, what kind of investor is that? Who is it? China? Who is now playing both sides and who is watching what's happening with Russia and isn't planning to stand up for Russia? What if they want to come in as an investor? Where? Into microelectronics? Are you out of your mind, friends? You mean hand everything over to the Chinese? So all our secrets? Since they're there, they're on the board, they'll be running everything? So I assume, of course, Gref didn't tell me this, but I believe that Gref is acting as a go-between for the Chinese here. That's all there is to it. Gref wouldn't sacrifice a single ruble for any microelectronics, and he wouldn't sacrifice for AFK Sistema either. But China, yes, they want to take over. But how? Again, as I said, a foreign company can't do this right now. But through Gref, it's possible. Why not? Oh, friends, and you talk about betraying the motherland. I'm not saying anything about betrayal, but something smells fishy here. It's not clear what it is. Definitely smells like kerosene. So what are we going to do? All of this is about to disappear. China comes in, grabs our microelectronics, and we're left with nothing at all. But that's one side of it. On the other hand, you think, well, maybe at least someone will want to develop this industry in Russia with Russian hands. The hands of slaves, not citizens. No. Yeah, of course. What citizens, friends, if China comes in? Why would he need you as ordinary Russian citizens? He already owns most of Russia, if not all of it by now. He's already giving orders. He's already waging war with Ukraine. Do you really think it's Russians who are waging war with Ukraine? Just think about it. Why would Russia need to wage war in Ukraine? There's absolutely no reason. However, there is another distinct entity, a third party, that profoundly needs this outcome to completely and utterly ruin the Russian peasant within the confines of their own country. At this very moment, the Russian individual is tragically being destroyed in their own homeland, paradoxically, by their own actions and decisions, by their own hands. Is that clear? I think by now it's more than clear. China is ruining things, sending people to die in Ukraine. And as for Ukraine, they have their own Zelensky, such a cool guy, right? He's like a rubber boy who also sends his own Ukrainians to fight, right down to the last Ukrainian. And now Trump is going to play along with them, like on an accordion. Fedya Trump is playing now. He's sending most Russians, young Russians. He's already sending more than 100 people to Russia now. Well, a week ago I told you there were 57 people. Now it's already more than 100. So, 50 people every week would be a bit much, right? But Trump is the one doing this. He's playing along with Vladimir Putin, and accordingly, he's following orders from China. Trump is also following orders from China, because China needs to remove the thinking, combative white youth from the board of global governance, that is, from the matrix. Why is China removing them? Because they need to control things. Well, women are easy to control, that's obvious. And it's easy to control old people too. But try to control these ones, even if they're just a herd. But managing young guys, these young stallions, how are you going to control them? For the Chinese? Well, Russians aren't used to obeying the Chinese. Or am I wrong? What do you think? And what about Ukrainians? Will they want that too? And who was committing atrocities in Ukraine? We still don't know who was responsible for the atrocities. I am Tanya Karatsuba, Seyid Burkan, September 20th, 2025. We don't know, but it was some people.